As humans, we tend to assume that we are not only top of the food chain, but also on a superior spiritual plane to other species. However, if we believe in an afterlife and also form strong emotional bonds with our companion animals, it stands to reason that they may also have resilient souls which survive their earthly existence. There are so many accounts of pet sightings after death that we can't dismiss the notion that they too can continue to exist on another plane and even stay around to comfort their owners. Here are 7 accounts of pet hauntings, some of which have become historical legends. Number 7. Belgian House. Belgian House in Perthshire in Scotland was a Georgian estate home, and it has a reputation as one of the most haunted houses in Scotland. Major Robert Stewart inherited the house in 1834 and kept 14 pet dogs there. As a believer in reincarnation and transmigration of the soul, Stewart claimed that if reincarnated, he would return as a black cocker spaniel, his favourite breed. On Stewart's death in 1876, his nephew John Skinner, who inherited the house, reportedly shot all the dogs in the fear that his uncle would return as one of them if they bred. However, despite the complete lack of pets in the house, canine hauntings became incessant, with a persistent dog odour pervading the house, constant brushing up against the legs of visitors by invisible pooches, and echoing barking at all hours, disturbing everyone's sleep. Ghostly dogs were seen prowling around, including a distinctive black cocker spaniel which was able to knock over the furniture, bang on doors and move objects around. The paranormal activity not only continued but escalated until demolition of the house in 1962. Number 6. Demon Cat. Urban folklore claims a demon cat was one of many cats introduced hundreds of years ago to patrol the tunnels, hunting rats and mice under government buildings in Washington DC. Demon Cat is believed to have made its home in the basement area, originally allocated as a crypt for the body of President George Washington, leaving permanent telltale paw prints on the floor of the old Supreme Court chamber. The feline spectre has been described as completely black with glowing red eyes and the frightening ability to expand to the size of a giant tiger, 10 feet by 10 feet. Prowling the basements of Capitol Hill, the demon cat was said to appear out of nowhere to hiss, explode and pounce upon unsuspecting visitors, but disappearing just before making contact, even after being shot at by some Capitol Hill guards in the 1890s. One such guard claimed to have been licked by the giant cat, while legend has it that another died of a heart attack after witnessing it. Demon Cat was also known to appear before important events, such as presidential elections, and ominously was spotted by White House guards prior to disasters, such as the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln and John Kennedy, and the stock market crash of 1929, with another sighting during the last days of World War II. Number 5. Preston. Now for some helpful ghost animals. As man's and woman's best friend, we know that dogs can be altruistic in caring for their human companions. Such is the story of Preston, a boxer who saved the life of a young boy in Nashville, who was out trick-or-treating during Halloween with his 13-year-old sister. The girl, now an elderly woman, related that a brother stopped to pick up some sweets he had dropped on the road when a car sped out of nowhere. The neighbourhood dog Preston swiftly ran at the boy, himself being killed by the car. Ever since, locals feel an invisible dog brushing against them in that area or nuzzing them to keep them off the road, and a disembodied barking can be heard every Halloween. Number 4. Nightlife. Another selfless pooch was a dog called Nightlife, now a ghost dog in Atlantic City, New Jersey. He was a much-loved member of the local community and owned by the hotel bartender. Nightlife would regularly walk home bar patrons who had had too much to drink, navigating them with care across traffic intersections and later returning to the bar after getting safely home. It is said that local taxicab drivers knew him well and would pick the dog up and drop him off for free if his protege led him far astray. When Nightlife died, bar patrons raised the funds to bury him in a nearby pet cemetery. However, he continued to be seen stoically waiting near traffic lights and attempting to assist inebriated bar customers. Taxicab drivers continued to spot him approach in their car or waiting for them to pick up at street corners, only to dematerialise when the car door opens. Number 3. Wiggy. Wiggy was a cat owned by a nursery school teacher called Deborah Tadman. Deborah was so devastated by Wiggy's death that she called in a pet clairvoyant who was able to make contact with Wiggy's spirit. Wiggy had a serious message for Deborah, warning her that her apartment was a toxic environment. On having her home inspected by professionals, Deborah discovered that the conditions in which she lived were potentially fatal. Her walls were lined with asbestos, the electrical wiring was faulty and dangerous, and there was a build-up of hazardous black mould. As there had been no way of knowing this, Deborah felt that Wiggy had reached out to her from the spiritual realm to keep her safe. Number 2. Shiba. Another helpful ghost pet was a German shepherd called Shiba, who was travelling with her family and their 2 daughters from Cuba to Bermuda in the late 1800s on a ship called the Richmond. The ship was caught up in a violent hurricane, sustained damage and began to sink, with the 2 girls being flung overboard. Shiba dived into the sea, saving one of the girls, then went back for the other. However, tragically, both disappeared below the waves and were not seen again. Since then, there have been numerous sightings of a phantom German shepherd in the seas around the Bahamas, particularly during a storm or before a hurricane. Shiba appears to be swimming out to sea, then will dive below the waves and disappear, and she continues to save drowning swimmers. In one case, a 9-year-old girl had fallen from a parent's sailboat and was helplessly thrashing around when a German shepherd appeared out of nowhere, dragging her to shore, then barking and disappearing. Another 12-year-old girl was snorkeling in the area when she spotted a German shepherd swimming above her. In curiosity, she serviced and called out to the dog, which looked at her and barked a few times, then dived under the waves and disappeared. The ghost of Shiba is now well known to patrol those waters, seeking to save children she thinks are in trouble, just as she had valiantly tried but failed to save a young owner years ago. Number 1. Hollywood's dogs. By contrast, some pet ghosts keep their presence confined to very particular areas. For example, the grave of the famous 1920s silent film actor Rudolph Valentino seems to be haunted by his dog Kabar, who is said to appear when his name is called, brushing against legs and licking the hands of visitors. Another spectral canine, Leona, still stalks the corridors of the historic Holly Hotel in Michigan, US. The original hotel owner's dog, and said to look like a rat terrier, Leona often appears to guests and kitchen staff, brushing against people and licking their hands with audible panting and at times barking echoing around empty hallways. A particularly touching story is that of Rex, beloved pet of author Albert Payson Terhune. Although Terhune bred collies, Rex was a crossbreed with an ugly facial scar who was especially close to him, curling up at his feet while he typed. After Rex's passing in 1916, Terhune was so distraught that he wrote a book about him as a tribute to his loyalty. One evening, Terhune had a financier called Henry A. Healy around for dinner, and towards the end of the evening, Healy sighed and remarked, "But I wish there was someone or something on earth that adored me as much as Rex worships you. I watched him all evening. He just lay there at your feet the whole time, looking up at you as a devotee might look up to his god." The astonished Terhune exclaimed that Rex had been dead for over a year and a half, and his shocked guest, who had not been informed of Rex's death, swore that Rex had been lying next to Terhune all evening. Rex was obviously still a permanent presence around Terhune's home, appearing a few weeks later to a visiting vicar, who remarked on the dog with the peculiar scar on its forehead, saying, "I thought you inbred collies." Terhune also noticed that the other dog still cautiously hedged around the rug where Rex used to sit, as if he were still there.